Hey there. One book can change everything. Discover revelations that spark courage, ignite dreams, and remind you who you truly are. From timeless classics to bold new voices, find your next inspiration in every page of Dr. Segun Olugbemi's books, such as Lessons from 30 Years of Marriage. Marriage is much more than a social contract. It is an institution established by God Himself. The man was never created to live in isolation, independent, alone, or all self-sufficient by himself. For two are better than one because they have a better reward for their labor. Red flags. Deception turns rulers into subjects and makes the wise foolish. It is the reason behind every failure, loss, pain, or regret. The life coach. The lessons we learn in life are: precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little, there a little. Wisdom is loaded in all of creation. Therefore, the responsibility of discovery is on you. Defeating the mother frog syndrome. Mother frog syndrome is symptomatic of a lifestyle that is comfortable with whatever life throws at it. A man with great dreams who is unwilling to do anything about it. It is a reactionary life rather than an active one. A life that responds rather than initiates. Without conquest, there can be no victory. Without reaching, there is no getting. This is an apt description of what today's church looks like. This book teaches you how to kill these lethargic and apathetic lives. Mercy Extended. The vision that has led to this timely exposition on the rising new Church of Jesus Christ is clearly detailed in this book. It distinguishes between the Solomon Church and the Davidic Church, the significance of the donkey upon which no man ever sat on the occasion of the triumphant entry, vis-a-vis the present-day reformers in the rising church who have an understanding that Jesus Christ is either Lord of all or not at all. Prophetic confrontation. Prophecies are divine and accurate foretelling of the future to an individual, group, or nation by God. However, the recipient of prophecy has a key role to play in seeing it come to pass as foretold and benefiting from it, since most prophecies are conditions. Silent years. The silent years are the years we spend without being noticed. They are years of thorough preparation of a vessel by the Master Himself for His unique use. In this jet age of fast food, fast information, online church, online Bibles, and fast Christianity, many Christians, leaders inclusive, do not see the need to truly wait on God as in the days of Elijah. Obadiah Commission. There is a reason the word independence is not used in any translation of the Bible. One of the reasons is that God never meant for us to independent of Him or one another. We are to be dependent on God and interdependent on one another. Lessons from the Patriarchs, Volume 1 and 2. Every information in the Bible has a message for us. We sure can learn from the names, places, numbers, people, principles, and instructions therein. You can order all these books and more on Amazon or call +2 34805 116 6211.
Hello there, good evening, and thank you for joining us on TLC, the Life Coach. Now, we have been on a little journey that we started last week, and that's part one of it here. The episode focuses on what happens when you are under pressure. A lot of times we react differently. We react with fear, what I call fear forecast. We react with trepidation, with panic, and then so negative that we almost end up believing that our lives will be over during this crisis. There's nothing to eat. It's all over. So naturally, what happens is there is this exaggerated opinion about what you are truly going through. It does not necessarily make it so. I quoted Mark Twain, who said, "I'm now an old man." He once said, "I'm now an old man, and I've been through many troubles, but most of these troubles were there in my head. They were not necessarily your reality. And many of the things we fear don't necessarily happen. We just live in this, this world where there's a level of concerned that if things don't fall in place right now and right now, then it's over. You know, that unconsciously we build that thing around us, that if I check my bank account and I do not have sufficient money to go for another week, then I'm in trouble. So we are now governed by the Maslow theory that says the basic needs of man comes first, which is food, clothing, shelter, you know. And as soon as we get that, then we start to think about the need for security. What do I need to do not to remain at the level of just getting my daily needs met, food, clothing, shelter, and what do I need to do so I'm secured? We start fighting for security to say, now that I've overcome that stage, I need to build up, to stack up something in my bank account to be sure that I do not go back down there. And as soon as we get that, then we begin to see, how do I belong to a club of people who have been secured, they've had their daily needs met, they are now secured, but now they're now entertaining themselves, they are getting toys and being able to, you know, the club of the big boys or the big girls. And then when you get to that place, then you find out that there's something, you're looking for fulfillment. What do I need to do to separate myself from the pack that others can copy? So you see that endless, you know, pyramid continues. We just keep going on that ladder until we think that life is all about us. It's all about what we can get. It's all about all we can and all we can warm, kind of warm. You know, so panic does, panicking under pressure can create a lot of problems for you. But I want to say, like I did mention, we're all going through it. Right now in my country, the weather is crazily hot. We're all going through it. People are, you know, showering 3-4 times, some jumping into the pool at the midday, and then they swim a couple of times because I'm going to do things. Everybody is dealing with it. The air condition, the bills are running. You pay a lot of money for, you know, energy bill and all that stuff. It happens to everybody. It is your perspective. You need to change the imagery that you have in your head. Check out that thing and look at the big picture. Don't put the wrong picture in your head, because if you do, you will sink with the problem that has no business sinking you. Okay? So we stopped at number 6, where we spoke about the fact that we need to honor the validity of our human experience. These things are real. We go through them. But that doesn't mean that we should over-validate them to the point that we worship and revel in these experiences and they become our reality. So once in a while, it's okay not to be okay. We all have gone through it. We all go through tough times. And ours is just to say, after now, what? Let's make the most of what life has to offer. Number 7, what to do when you are under pressure. That's what we're talking about. This is part 2 of it. What do you need to do under pressure? When you are under pressure, what do you do? Number 7, remember that faith doesn't remove problems. These things, don't forget that. I'm telling you, things to remember when you're under pressure. Faith doesn't remove problems. It transforms them. Faith did not take away Goliath from the presence of small David. Or you are 12 foot, you are 13 foot. Faith did not remove that. The man remains the same size. Didn't downgrade his size. What faith did for David was transform that problem to solution. To say, you are a Goliath, but I see you. You know, why somebody said, the man said, he challenged Israel. You crazy guys, you mean you have nobody to send to me except this small rat? This tiny boy. And then the king Saul told him, you are too small for this. You are too small for this man. And then David instead saw Goliath being too big to miss if I throw my stones. You see, the spies that were sent came back and said to Moses, the people we saw there are giants. And we look like grasshopper to them. When Joshua and Caleb were going to talk, they said, we saw them, they were big. But instead of we being giants, instead of they being giants, we are the giants, and they are grasshopper. They will be bread for us. You think you are grasshopper, but these guys will be the grasshopper. They will become lunch. They are bread for us. So someone will see the giant and say, this is bread for me. Someone will see a giant and say, I meet with my end. Do you know that when a lion sees a rhino or an elephant, it doesn't see a giant. A lion sees a good lunch. But at the same time, when you see some other animals, seeing lion, seeing a rhino, seeing a lion or buffalo, they say this is death. They run. So this thing is in the picture you paint. We cannot connect the dots moving forward. We can only connect the dots looking backward. So keep faith that as messy as your situation is, it might be the right thing which will be right now. But in the longer run, on the long run, the arc of time, that dot will connect. That out of your mess will come a message. And trust me, they will. Having faith in God is at work. Having faith that God is at work, doesn't remove your challenges, but it does transform your relationship to the challenges. Daring to have faith that everything will ultimately work out for your highest good will expand your bandwidth of seeing the good and making the best of even the greatest challenge that you may have. On the flip side, operating in fear will sink you. You see, the most valuable chapters of our lives often don't get a title till much later, when we look back and wonder how we made it through. So you need to learn to keep the faith and press on. Talk to those who will help you keep the fire of your faith burning. About a year and a half ago, my wife went through back surgery. It was intense. And it was 11 hours, before I could see her. And when I went to the recovery room and I saw her, I was relaxed. But we had a couple of people out there who were all waiting and praying and all that stuff. And I told them, well, she's okay. And people said, how did you survive? I can't imagine I said, I didn't say anything. They said, but how did you go to, well, I went through all that crisis. She had recovered and had begun to walk and began to do something. Before, if you ask me, I could now title, what I went through. I could give you a title that will encourage you. But while going through it, if you ask me, I just don't know. And somebody will say, if I were in that situation, I would do this. You never know what you might do until you are there. Some things you have to, sometimes it's impulse, sometimes it's all that you have built on the inside of you that are taking you through the years. You went through crisis, you've gone through this. Then when you look back and aggregate them together and say, man, I know, I can see what it used to be. It was tougher, it was much more difficult, but I feel better right now. So number 8, things to remember while you're going through tough times. Number 8, remember that you are braver, together. We are braver together than we can ever be alone. One of the strategy of the lions and most predators is to isolate the weak. When the herd of cows, the herd of elephants or whatever it is, they're going, buffalo, and when they're moving like that, the first thing the lion will do will be to position themselves. They'll be looking for the weak ones that appear not well or that appear, being alone, and they will try to surround, and then they move to cause fear. Once they cause panic and the herd moves, then they surround this one that is alone. Okay? A burden shared may not be a burden halved, but it's certainly a burden lightened. Various studies have found that people with strong social connections are more resilient when life's pressure are mounted. Than people without them. So have you ever experienced this in your life journey? You are going through some storm and had an idea what to do and where to turn to. Suddenly you decided to share it with someone and confident, and the trouble didn't fizzle away, But at the same time, you got a sense of relief, which resulted in a glimmer of hope, because in the multitude of counselors, there's safety. You share with someone and suddenly say, thank you. I went through a situation not too long ago. And if you asked me what I wanted, I don't know. If you asked me what was going on with me, I don't know. I wasn't sure I had an answer for any question, but I was in a space where, man, I couldn't explain myself at all. I was just there going through whatever I was going through. And my younger brother called me and he said, how are you, brother? I said, I'm fine. He said, you know, how are you feeling? You got money, you got food, you have this, you have that. What do you need? And I said to him, brother, I don't know that I know exactly what I need right now. I can't even explain all that I'm going through. But this called me the difference. I said, just asking me questions and questions and questions that were personal to me, my personal well-being. You just told, you showed me that you have this concern. You just changed a lot. I said, I felt better just talking with my brother who had this feeling. So that's what it is about life. There are times you go through tough times. You can't even put your finger on it. You can't explain it. You maybe think you know what to do or you don't know what to do, but you just share with somebody and the body goes, you know, just become lightened. Human nature being what it is. Often when we are going through a tough time, we can feel inclined to put on the mask and withdraw from the very people who will help us get through it, who could help you, who probably have a position to help you out of it. I was talking to a young man, he said to me, I was going through some situations and I decided to withdraw from everybody. I said, if you withdraw from everybody, who is going to help you? These people you are withdrawing from have been positioned by God to help you. This is why it is important not to let your fear of appearing weak or, you know, the need to keep you from reaching out, keep appearing weak or needy, you know, making you feel like reaching out is a sign of weakness. That's not true. That's not true. If you share it, reaching out and sharing the truth of your life is not a sign of weakness. Actually, it takes strength to open your mouth to share that. Don't allow the enemy to get you into a corner all by yourself. The Bible says two are better than one. It says if they fall, one will lift up the other. But woe is he that is alone. Okay? Woe is that person who is alone. Because if you are alone, nobody is going to pick you when you fall. One person's lying alone cannot get warm. All right? Have you noticed that even in the animal kingdom, a predator will always attack the ones that is, you know, weak or that ventured out of the safety of his pack? You see? So there's no such, you know, isolated, there's no, you know, if there's no such isolated animal, the predator looks weak. It cannot kill the herd of a pack. An army of sheep can't delve into, you know, large pack of, army of sheep or other animals, elephant or whatever. It cannot, you know. But the predator looks for the weak ones, looks for the weaklings, isolate them, and finally brings them down. The enemy of our souls works in like manner. So if you have been struggling, I encourage you to reach out today. Listen carefully, reach out today to people in your world. It's not to everybody. You know, because people will say, you can talk to me, talk to me. I said, you hear that from people, you can always talk to me. Anything you want to share, you are free to talk to me. The issue is not the absence of people to talk to. It's people that will remain after they hear the truth. Those who will remain and won't judge you after they've heard the secrets of your life. I encourage you to reach out to people in your world, people that you know they care about you. Confide in them and, you know, tell them about your feeling. Confide in them how you are truly feeling. Enlist their support. Ask for their prayers. Ask for help. You know, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of giving up. It's a sign of courage that shows that you want to be stronger. It's also a sign of humility that shows that you don't know it all, you don't have it all. God is a rational being who expects, he expects that, he expects that nothing less from those he has created to be rational. Nothing less. He wants them to be rational. We were created in his image and his likeness. He's a rational being. He wants people to be rational. Ask for help. I remember the story of Jesus. He never owned a boat. He asked for help. He got one. I remember another point. He asked the disciples to go and ask someone, where did you prepare for me to have my Passover with my disciples? I remember another time he never had a donkey. He said, go to that place. And if anyone says, why are you losing this? He said, the Lord has need of it. In other words, when you need help, ask for help. If the people don't respond, it's on them. It's not on you. If they can't afford, if they can't do that, they may have something to tell you. Many years ago, a friend of mine shared something with me and shared this. He said, I've shared these things with you in confidence. Thank you for helping me. I've overcome. Whatever you do with that information is on you, not on me. I've only done what is appropriate to be done. I said, I love your spirit. It's not in my place to use this information to my advantage or to hurt you. It's a privilege that God has given me to be there for you. Okay? Number 9, remember that life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. Life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. Okay? You will not be half the person you are today if everything you have ever wanted had gone according to plan. You might not choose your current circumstances, but they hold a silent invitation for you to grow into more of the person you have within you. As I was talking to some people, because I've been in leadership for many years, about 40 years, and preaching and teaching and writing. And there are times that in my personal prayers with God, I just engage him and I say, God, if you need an advice as to how to solve my problems, you can consult with me. I said, you have no problem. I said, my problems are not as difficult as you think they are. As a matter of fact, if I can show you 3 simple steps that all my problems can be solved with. And if you take that, I bet you tomorrow you and I will not be discussing this. Isn't it interesting that God is just there laughing and saying, naughty boy, you want to advise me? Yeah, because we think we know how to solve the problem. If you have everything you want, you will not be as mature as you are. You will not be as patient as you are. You will not be as compassionate as you are. Helping people, know what people feel. Today, when I see people struggling, that they want to go back to school, nobody to help, they need food and clothing they don't have, whatever. Oh man, it touches me because I've been there. I've been there. I've struggled. I've labored. I know what it means not to have. I know what it means to be hungry. You see, there's a difference between fasting and hunger. Fasting is when it's abstinence. Fasting is asceticism. It's you making a choice to abstain from certain things. You have the necessities you don't. But when you talk about hunger, you are hungry, you want to eat, and there's nothing to eat. I've been there. So when I see people like that, I want to help them out. I want to take them, I want to change their stories. What if God has given me everything I wanted, when I wanted, how I wanted it? You think I will have that level of compassion? Adversity has a way of introducing us to aspects of our humanity, strengths, talents, and deeper dimensions of our own being that we couldn't access without them. So embrace those uncomfortable emotions, for the opportunities they hold for you is to learn to grow in a whole new ways. So as we pass through the valley of life and experiences, don't forget that God uses them not only to show to us who He is, but He uses them to strengthen us and to develop our capacity. So growth and comfort can't ride the same horse. Never just because, never. They cannot ride the same horse. Comfort and growth are diametrically opposed to each other. If you are in your comfort, you are not growing. If you want to grow, growth is uncomfortable. Pregnancy, it's not comfortable for the baby, it's not comfortable for the mother, it's not comfortable for the father. Growth forces us to expand. Growth inconveniences us. Sometimes it gives us some measure of inconveniences, some pains, because we're learning to grow. We're learning it, you're learning it, okay? And so growth and comfort can't ride the same horse. No, never. Just because an experience is hard doesn't mean it is bad. Sometimes the very worst thing that happened to us can turn out to be the very best thing that will happen. Do you believe that God is still in the business of causing all things to work together for your good? Then go through the scriptures and take a look at the lives of so many people there, all the patriarchs. Negative as those experiences were, God helped them out of it. Do you remember a man called Jacob? And then Joseph was sold out by his brothers. Simeon was taken up, and then Joseph now, after many years, had become prime minister. And then he withheld Simon, and then he told them, you need to get Benjamin down. And then the man said, oh, Joseph is no more, Simon is no more, you want to take Benjamin, all these things be against me. God was actually not working against him, he was working for him. Because once he got there, Joseph released them, gave them money, and sent wagons to bring the father into Egypt. That's the way it goes. All right? Number 10, remember, trust yourself that whatever happens, you will face it squarely. Most people underestimate their capacity for life. They spin themselves a story that if such and such happened, they couldn't handle it. However, when faced with a major life crisis or significantly adverse circumstances, people often discover within themselves a far greater capacity for life than they had imagined. We can never underestimate the strength of the human spirit. We may feel utterly crushed, but within us is a force that can rise again, even from the darkest times. Trusting yourself, that you can overcome may not change your experience in life, but it can certainly change your experience of how you relate to it, making you a better person. The more you trust that you and God got this, the sooner you actually will. God is behind me. Nothing happens by accident. He knows, and my guardian angel will be there to step in for me. He surrounded me with family, he surrounded me with friends. It doesn't even matter how I feel about it. It might be ugly, it might be this, but I have a way of adapting. Typically, I don't like excessive cold. I don't like that. But I found out that when I get to cold region, I just adapt. And something happened to me a couple of years ago. I was in Canada. I was in the US, and I traveled to one area of Canada, Toronto, and was, having similar weather with New York, but a little colder. And I felt the cold more there than I felt in New York. But later I moved over to Calgary or so, I think Regina, then Calgary. And I found out that in Calgary, it was -7. And when I called New York, they were telling me, oh, it's really cold. And I said, what is it? They said 10 degrees. But I was already in -7. And because I had been in this cold region for a period of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I was now, my body had now adjusted. In those 2 weeks, it had so adjusted that I didn't dress as heavily as I dressed when I was in New York. And I have now adjusted so much so that I did not feel the cold as badly as I felt it when I left Nigeria and went into New York. Because I was not in cold region, my body adjusted. And then when I got to New York, why they say, oh, that's cold, and I just smiled because I knew where I was coming was colder. And so I didn't feel it as badly as I felt when I first came in there. That's what life looks like. You are built to make adjustments. You are built to adjust to anything and to overcome anything. You have it in you. The strength is in you. I remember what Paul said at a particular point. He said, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. God is your strength. He will not leave you alone. He hasn't brought you this far just to abandon you, just to leave you alone, to walk away from you. He will not leave you middle of the road. He won't take you up in the sky and leave you without making provision for safe landing. I encourage you not to give up. The pressure is real. It's real on everybody. But we go through pressure. We go through it and grow through it. I pray for you that you make the most of this. Thank you so much for joining us on TLC again. Until we come your way next week, this has been the Life Coach. And I want you to do everything within your power to share this with your friends. Listen to it again. Practice this over and again. Encourage yourself, encourage someone, and please do support us. Share this with others. Thank you.
Remember, your journey of self-discovery is a continuous one. Embrace the challenges, celebrate your successes, and never stop believing in your ability to grow. Thank you for listening to The Life Coach. Until next week, Friday, by 8 p.m., live a life filled with purpose and joy.